YouTube, welcome back to Overlord Alex Gaming. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you a comprehensive breakdown of the Deep Desert and Dune Awakening, covering everything you can do there to maximize your endgame progression. Whether you're looking for tier 6 gear, rare schematics, spice, or the best farming routes, I'll explain what each activity offers and where you should spend your time. First, for those who are unaware, there are a few community resources available that I highly recommend using alongside my guides. The first is method.gg, or Dune Gaming Tools. They both maintain an updated Deep Desert database that includes a data mined map showing the weekly locations of spice fields, testing stations, shipwrecks, hidden caves, and resource nodes. I prefer Method for checking out the details of the testing stations, whereas I prefer Dune Gaming Tools for an in-depth look at where resource nodes are. One thing to keep in mind is that the PvP version of the Deep Desert has significantly higher drop rates for many of these most valuable rewards. Even if you're just starting out with tier 6 progression, looting points of interest on the PvP side is considerably more rewarding than farming the PvE side, since you get that 2.5x multiplier for the resource nodes and a higher chance of getting the better loot in testing stations or shipwrecks. Now, obviously, this depends on your server population. On busy servers, you'll encounter players looking for PvP, but on lower population servers, it's absolutely worth taking advantage of these increased rewards whenever possible. Let's start with the Deep Desert testing stations and why they're worth visiting in addition to the Overland testing stations. These labs have their own unique loot pool that can't normally be attained anywhere outside of occasionally the land tribe rewards. Some of the standout rewards include the adaptive Holtzman shield, arguably the best tier 6 shield in the game, Young Sparky Mark 6, considered by many players to be the best charge pack available, vehicle schematics like the Albatross wings and Hummingbird wings Mark 6, base tier 6 armor and weapons, and many more other things. If you're still wearing tier 5 equipment, these are fantastic upgrades. However, if your primary goal is increasing combat power, I'd still recommend farming the Overland testing stations first. The graded versions of weapons and armor provide a significant power increase, making Deep Desert labs much easier once you've invested points into combat specialization and are wearing pieces of this gear. One of the easiest points of interest to loot in the Deep Desert are the hidden caves. These caves have a chance to drop several valuable mining and harvesting schematics, including the Kynes Cut Array, Compact Compactor Mark 6, along with several other useful crafting blueprints. Since they're quick to clear, they're worth stopping at whenever you see one. Now let's talk about tier 6 resource farming. Using the resource map, you'll notice that Stravidium and Titanium are scattered throughout many of the islands. If you're just getting started, you can stay around the A row and gather those by hand, although the node density is fairly low. For serious mining, I highly recommend setting up a small mining outpost, bringing a buggy, and transporting materials back to Haga Basin using either an assault ornithopter or eventually a carrier container with a carrier ornithopter. If you prefer, you can even process everything directly in the Deep Desert with death stills. How extensive you make your mining operation really comes down to personal preference. The larger northern islands often contain well over 100 mining nodes, making them the most profitable locations, but can become quite busy by other players in the PvE Deep Desert on certain servers. For those areas, building a permanent mining base and using a carrier is by far the most efficient strategy when it's on a weekly basis. On the PvP side of the Deep Desert, you can completely fill a cargo container in under 20 minutes if you're uncontested thanks to the 2.5x resource multiplier. Even on the PvE side, these islands remain extremely profitable. If you're newer to the Deep Desert, I'd recommend farming the islands around the B and C rows first. There's usually clusters of 15 to 25 nodes on these islands. You can either hand farm them enough to fill an assault ornithopter, or bring a buggy and establish a temporary forward operating base. Ultimately, your route depends on whether your server population is high and how much PvP risk you're comfortable taking in these situations, and how much of these resources you require for progression. Next up, let's talk about crash ships and shipwrecks. These are excellent sources of tier 6 components, blueprints, and equipment. If you're just entering the tier 6 progression era, these are one of the best places to farm your initial loadout and gear collection. Shipwrecks are also generally easier than testing stations, especially for solo players. While they don't drop some of the premium items, like the adaptive Holtzman shield or Young Sparky, they still contain valuable vehicle schematics, weapons, armor, and crafting materials. If you're just making a full lap around the Deep Desert, these should absolutely be part of your route if you spot any of them. Now let's talk about spice. The Deep Desert contains the largest spice fields in the game, far larger than anything you'll find in Haga Basin. Typically, there are 5 major spice fields located across the northern portion of the map, although only one is active at any given time. If you're newer to spice harvesting, the medium-sized fields found around the D and E rows are a much safer starting point. Again, harvesting on the PvP side provides roughly 2.5 times the yield, allowing you to collect even more spice at a faster rate. The trade-off, of course, is the increased chance of running into other players, depending on the density of your server. One final bonus activity worth mentioning is farming resources like aluminum, flower sand, and fuel cells. The quantities available in the deep desert are enormous. Just like everything else, the PvP version offers much higher yields, but even in the PvE side, it contains plenty of resources if you're looking for a safer, casual farming experience. You'll find aluminum nodes along the B and the C rows in large abundance. You'll also find flower sand sprinkled throughout the whole deep desert, and you'll find fuel cells basically everywhere you look in a deep desert, so you can farm those resources to your heart's content. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. What do you usually spend your time doing in the deep desert? And if you're just getting started, what part of the deep desert has been the biggest challenge so far? If this guide helped you out, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. It really helps to support the channel. It helps me keep making more Dune Awakening guides. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.